Hi, so it's been a minute since I've done one of these videos, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not gonna bore you with the details or whatever because I have vlogs to do that for. That's not what the purpose for this series is for. But I do know there's a lot of videos in this series. But don't mind what I look like. I'm fresh out of bed. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, so I'm still pretty tired. But no, I wanted to talk about this last night when I got home from work, but I got too tired and things got a little bit too, I was too busy doing other things as well. So I didn't have time to talk about this, um, but now, as I'm still yawning, here we are. So I don't know if all of you are aware, I have crippling anxiety. I have pretty much every anxiety in the book that you can think of, and there was a point in time where it nearly has taken over my life. It's still a big part of my life. Anxiety is not something that can just go away. It can be managed, which I am taking medication for. But anxiety has been a big part of my life ever since I was little. First indicators first indicators of, I guess, anxiety is being kind of like, well, technically for this one I wanted to talk about social anxiety, which, is pretty self-explanatory for people that don't know what social anxiety is. It's just anxiety based on social events or social events, large crowds in general, people in general, that sort of things. Any social interaction gives you anxiety. And the biggest indicator for me was growing up very shy and reserved. I didn't like talking to people. I didn't like meeting new people. I mean, throughout my childhood it was okay because I didn't quite know. I was still very shy, but I wasn't like afraid to like talk to people and try to make new friends. I think middle school was peak when it got worse because you had all new classes and all new friends, and there's all these new people, and teenagers at that time were fucking ruthless, and I've been bullied throughout my entire school years, so it didn't matter because I was also, not who I was. I was a fat kid, and people don't have the balls to admit that, but I know what I was, and yeah, whatever. Anyways, so yes, social anxiety has pretty much been a big part of my life for most of my life, and it's gotten so bad to where I've almost fainted in front of people, where I would have panic attacks on a daily. It was hard to leave my room, it was hard to go to school, it was hard to do a lot of things, it was hard to go out, hard to socialize, it was hard to fucking live pretty much, and you don't realize the big toll that social anxiety takes on your life until you literally cannot leave your bedroom because it's your only safe space. You literally cannot like do anything pretty much. And so of course I did a social therapy or something like that. I did therapy with a person that helped with social anxiety, and it helped. It helped a little. We would always, walk to, I think it was Dutch Bros at the time, and I would always be the one to order because whenever we go out anywhere, I don't order anything because I absolutely despise. So it was like restaurants, I would never order myself. If it was at a coffee joint, I would never order myself. It was always like my dad or my mom or my older brother. But I was taught a little bit about like, you know, about social anxiety and how to kind of not control it, but make it so it's not so heavy and make it be a big burden on your life. And lately I've been thinking about it. Um there's been one thing on my mind that I've been thinking about, and it just like occurred to me that it's just like thinking back, I would never have been able to do this maybe a year to 2 years ago. Because a year or 2 years ago, I live across from a Dutch Bros. I can't have Dutch Bros now thanks to COVID, but there would be a time where I couldn't even step foot outside my house and walk to Dutch Bros. It's literally right across the street. That's it. Like, not even 5 minutes. And there'd be a point in time where I couldn't even walk across the street there by myself, because what I think about when I am outside with social anxiety, I think about not only I think about all the people that could be looking at me right now and staring at me and like trying to figure out like who the fuck I am, but there's also a lot of fear based of just like, kidnappings and or getting shot or stabbed. I've grown up in pretty bad neighborhoods. I live in a very bad neighborhood of where all of that happens on a daily basis because it's fucking Portland. But every time I was outside, I was just like, oh, am I gonna get shot? Am I gonna get stabbed? Am I gonna get kidnapped? Because I'm not a big girl. I'm not a big person. Like, I'm 5'1", and I don't weigh that much. So it's just like, and it's just like, so it won't be hard for someone to just come across in a white van and fucking tear me off the streets and fucking go, you know? That's what it used to be like. And if it literally would instill so much fear that I did not want to leave the house alone, so I'd always have like my brothers with me. But there was a point in time to where, oh, it was such a big achievement to walk over there once by myself, to muster up so much courage to walk over and get coffee. And I know it seems so silly to people of that being such a big achievement. Oh, I walked to a place by myself, whoop-de-doo. But I don't think you understand the importance of how it is for people with social anxiety, because something like that is such a big step to them, because I would have never have been able to do that. Taking upon that step of just across the street, down the block a ways, is a little convenience store where me and my brothers would always go to, and there was a point in time where I wanted to do that by myself. So, first time I tried it, of course, I was deathly afraid, because I'm like, this is a lot farther than I expected. I don't know how it's gonna go. And I almost got hit by a car, so that was fun, because people are fucking stupid. But yeah, that was a pretty big achievement as well. And those were the only two places I was able to go pretty much when, you know, because I couldn't travel farther than that. But now, up until last year and this year, I had joined the gym, which is a couple of blocks down the street. So at first I had my little brother would take me there and be there when I was done, because usually I'm there for an hour or 2 hours. He'd walk me there and walk me back. And then there'd just be a point in time where he was still asleep, so I didn't want to wake him when I went to the gym. So I'm like, why don't I just try it out by myself? Of course, I always have protection on me. I have a knife in my bag and I have pepper spray, so I'm always like prepared. Nowadays, it's like I don't think of just like, oh, what if I get kidnapped? Social anxiety is also good for me in a sense of how can I escape the situation type of thing. So if I were to get kidnapped, or if something were to happen, what could be my possible escape? What are my options and scenarios that I can play out to get out of every situation? It's like that every time when I'm in here and I'm like, oh, what if a robbery or someone breaks into my house? Like, what would I do? So social anxiety for me is also very good at times, because it helps me overanalyze and I guess come up with scenarios, these bad scenarios that 95% most likely will never happen. Because that's what happens when you overthink things, is that 95% of what you think about doesn't happen and will not happen. Um, I had just remembered that literally a while ago. I saw it in one of my doctor's notes, um, but it's still, good to think about in case because situations like that do happen where you can just be picked off the streets, and but I'm very good at analyzing situations and over planning to what I can figure out how to like escape and stay alive type of thing. So it's probably good in those scenarios, and I also have to realize that the sad truth is nobody cares. Nobody cares. You know? Everyone's got their own shit to do. Nobody's gonna give a fuck about you whether you're walking somewhere or not by yourself. It doesn't matter. So, once you have that mindset, you kind of just go for it. So, I started walking to the gym and back, which was fine, and 7-Eleven, which is across the street from the gym. So, I would do that back and forth pretty much. And then so there's this friend that I go and visit on my days off, just to get away from the house and the environment and whatnot, which is very nice. And they live 15 minutes from here by car. By foot, it's an hour and 48 minutes. I managed to knock off 48 minutes of that because I'm a fast walker. When you're short, you kind of have to keep up with the tall people, so you kind of just magically know and learn to walk fast. But yeah, so this was the first time I'd ever walked to their place. And it's also a good thing because I overanalyze direction. So it's always like, okay, I need to know exactly the route and exactly when to go and how to get there. So I've like looked on maps and I looked at it's literally a straight shot with just like 2 or 3 turns and that is it. So I literally was looking on maps and looking on like the actual view of it and seeing how to get there. It's just a straight shot down my place. You take a left, and then a right, and then a right again, and that's it. Pretty straightforward. So I went and did that last week, and listening to music always helps too. Music is such a big part of what plays in to not have my social anxiety get so bad because I get overstimulated and overwhelmed by all the loud noises outside. Noise is a big thing for me too because, I'm autistic. And so, like, beforehand with my social anxiety, any sound of cars just made me flinch and made me like I was just so overwhelmed by it, which is I think another big reason why I never did things by myself is because of just how loud everything was. So every time I go to the gym or I go to 7-Eleven or I go to my friend's house or whatever, I always listen to music because music is the only comforting thing in most of like my mental situations. Music is the biggest like comforting thing that I have. And so yeah, I went and I walked there and it was like a pretty enjoyable walk. Like it was very fucking cold, but it was a nice walk. Like I was just listening to my music. There's a Starbucks on the way, which is pretty nice, and I mean, I didn't get any Starbucks, which I regretted, but maybe next time. And as soon as it gets warmer, too, it'll definitely be so much nicer, Even just, like, the walk itself, even though you do have I do have social anxiety and you deal with social anxiety, even just the walk somewhere really does help to clear your mind, and especially if you do play music as well. It's very comforting and brings you that sense of comfort, and it's also, like, if when you're in a city and you also come across like a plaza or like any kind of like big area where there's a lot of buildings and a lot of stores, you're least likely to end up getting hurt around those areas because there's a lot of witnesses and a lot of people. So I feel more comfort knowing that I live by a lot of shit, so stuff like that most likely won't happen. I know it's not gonna happen anyways, but like you never know. But yeah, the walk there was really relaxing and like, yeah, I did notice I was getting stared at here and there, but I mean, now I'm in the mindset of just like, I'm in the mindset of where I'm literally like, try me, bitch. See what fucking happens. Like, it's come to a point in my time where it's just like, when it comes to self defense, I won't hesitate. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I don't want to get in trouble. But, yeah, I'm not afraid to hurt a bitch if someone tries anything. Um, but yeah, and then the other day, when I got my dresser, it was very cold outside, but I was at the gym and I wanted Starbucks. And I know I live next to like four of them. They're not quite walking distance because I think they're like an hour by walking or like whatever. But by my gym, it's a 30-minute walk. Technically less because I walk fast, so it takes off like half the time. So it's like, that'll be easy. I'll be back in no time. So after I did my session at the gym, I went and I walked there and I'm like, am I actually doing this? The realization kicks in that I was like, I'm actually doing this. I'm like, what kind of balls and bravery do I have to literally walk to someplace I don't walk to often just for coffee? Granted, I was on my period and I crave coffee significantly a lot more than I usually do, which is crazy. But it was also super fucking cold and windy, so I couldn't feel my hands the majority of the time. But it would be a nice walk again once it gets a little warmer. But I'm talking to my friend and I'm just like, I did this. It's like it's mind blowing the achievements and how far I've come with my social anxiety, because I would have never been able to walk to these places by myself within the past year or two. 2 years ago, I couldn't even fathom that I would be able to walk to these many places by myself. You know, and I wanted to come on here to um tell you, you know, my achievements and to show you that the baby steps do matter, because once you take those baby steps out a little bit outside your comfort zone, it starts to get easier as time goes on, you know? Does that mean I'm gonna be able to fucking travel the world anytime soon? Of course not. Does that mean I'm gonna be able to fucking, you know, be able to fucking, I don't know, be on a stage in front of a live audience? Of course not. I'm just saying, taking the tiny baby steps that most people won't think are big steps to most people is the first step. If you think those little steps don't matter, they do, especially if you have social anxiety. Another thing too is I used to work at SakuraCon. I went and worked one of those conventions, and I even went to KomoriCon, which is also a large crowd of people that I never thought I would be able to do. But it's also like I had someone with me, so it was like I knew I was okay, you know, and it was fun. It was enjoyable. I had a good time. Sure, it was very loud. I was very almost overstimulated, but I was okay, you know? So gradually taking those little baby steps, and if it feels important to you and you feel like you made an achievement with those baby steps, then you should, because those baby steps are what helps you make much bigger steps into doing more things outside your comfort zone. I was still in shock that I was managed to walk to my friend's house and to that Starbucks by myself with an unknown route that I've never been to, but I followed the map and I just did what the map told me to, and I just listened to music and I just did my own thing and didn't worry about the others, and that was that. So, if you have social anxiety like I do, you just need to just ease those baby steps, which helps a lot. You might think they don't, but trust me, they really do. And then further on, it'll get so much easier. Like, my anxiety doesn't have the biggest control over me now with most things. Um, Especially like my social anxiety, you know? It still kind of gets a little bad here and there when it comes to new people, but it's definitely not like out of control. I'm spiraling bad. So, yeah. I just wanted to share that with y'all because I thought it was an interesting realization, and I thought maybe it could help some of you out there who's struggling with social anxiety or agoraphobia is another one that I know people have. But I also know that one is more intense than social anxiety. So, but yeah, even still, just taking the baby steps are, a big achievement. You know, a big achievement to most. So, yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to rant on for too long. Yeah, hope you enjoyed.